The quiet hum of Earth's orbital defenses was shattered by the sudden appearance of the Quarren fleet. These ruthless conquerors, known for their unyielding expansion across the galaxy, had finally set their sights on Earth. The skies darkened as their massive warships, sleek and bristling with advanced weaponry, descended through the atmosphere. Each ship was a testament to Quarren engineering, designed to intimidate and dominate. In the United Earth Defense Force Command Center, alarms blared and screens flashed with incoming alerts. General Sarah Thompson, a seasoned and stern leader, quickly took command of the situation. "All units to battle stations," she barked, her voice echoing through the chaos. "We need to repel these invaders at all costs." On the front lines, Captain Marcus Reynolds and his team of elite soldiers readied themselves for combat. The tension was palpable, a mix of fear and determination etched on every face. Marcus glanced at his squad, a diverse group of men and women from all corners of the globe, each one trained to fight for their home. "Remember your training," Marcus said, his voice steady. "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for our families, our friends, our entire planet." As the first wave of Quarren soldiers emerged from their ships, a collective gasp rippled through the human ranks. The Quarrens were tall, with elongated limbs and sharp, menacing features. Their eyes glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and their armor seemed to pulse with energy. Their leader, a particularly imposing figure, stepped forward and addressed the humans in a guttural, mocking tone. "Pathetic humans," the Quarren commander sneered. "Your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and we may show you mercy." Despite their fear, the human soldiers stood their ground. They had faced impossible odds before and survived. With a roar of defiance, they launched their counterattack. Laser fire and explosions lit up the sky, the sounds of battle echoing across the landscape. But it quickly became apparent that humanity's weaponry was no match for the Quarren's advanced technology. The aliens moved with a precision and speed that seemed almost supernatural. For every Quarren that fell, 10 more seemed to take their place. The human soldiers fought bravely, but they were being overwhelmed. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Reynolds found himself face to face with a Quarren warrior. The alien towered over him, its glowing eyes filled with disdain. Marcus raised his weapon, but the Quarren struck it aside with a swift, powerful blow. As the alien prepared to deliver a killing strike, Marcus braced himself for the end. Suddenly, a blast of energy hit the Quarren from the side, sending it sprawling. Marcus turned to see Lieutenant Ana Martinez, a fierce and skilled sniper, nodding at him from her vantage point. "Keep fighting, Captain," she called out. "We're not done yet." Bolstered by his comrades' support, Marcus rallied his team. They fought with renewed vigor, using every trick and tactic they knew to hold the line. But despite their efforts, the Quarrens continued to push forward, their mocking laughter a constant reminder of their perceived superiority. As the battle raged on, General Thompson watched from the command center, her face a mask of grim determination. She knew they needed a miracle to turn the tide. "Get me Dr. Evelyn Park," she ordered. "It's time to activate Project Cerberus." In a hidden bunker deep beneath the Earth's surface, Dr. Evelyn Park received the general's call. Her heart raced as she activated the project's final protocols. She had been preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come to this. "It's time," she whispered to herself. "We need to show the Quarrens what humanity is truly capable of." The battle for Earth had only just begun, and humanity was about to unveil a secret weapon that would change the course of the war. Captain Marcus Reynolds stood amidst the rubble of the battlefield, his heart pounding as he watched the first wave of Quarren soldiers approach. The alien invaders moved with an eerie precision, their long, spindly limbs carrying them effortlessly over the uneven terrain. Their eyes, glowing a cold, unfeeling blue, seemed to pierce through the humans' hastily assembled defenses. The human soldiers, clad in standard-issue combat gear, formed a line, their weapons aimed at the advancing enemy. Each soldier's face was a mask of determination, though the fear lurking behind their eyes was palpable. The Quarrens, in contrast, exuded an air of supreme confidence. Their leader, a towering figure with an elaborate crest of spikes on his head, stepped forward, his mouth curling into a cruel smile. Pathetic humans, the Quarren commander sneered, his voice amplified by his suit's external speakers. Your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and perhaps we will spare some of you. Laughter erupted from the Quarren ranks, a harsh, grating sound that cut through the tension. The human soldiers gripped their weapons tighter, their resolve hardening in the face of the enemy's mockery. Marcus's gaze swept over his team, each member a testament to humanity's diversity and resilience. There was Lieutenant Ana Martinez, her sniper rifle steady and her eyes sharp as she scanned for targets. Next to her was Corporal David Kim, his face set in grim determination as he checked his heavy assault weapon. Private Jameson, the youngest of the group, fidgeted nervously, his eyes darting between his comrades and the approaching aliens. "Hold your ground," Marcus shouted, his voice carrying over the din. "We fight for Earth, for our families, for our future." With a collective roar, the human soldiers opened fire. Laser beams and bullets tore through the air, striking the Quarren front line. But the aliens' advanced armor absorbed much of the impact, and they continued their advance with an almost leisurely pace. The humans' weapons, though formidable, seemed like toys against the Quarren's superior technology. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Explosions rocked the ground, sending debris flying in all directions. The humans fought valiantly, but the Quarrens were relentless. They moved with a fluid grace, their elongated limbs allowing them to dodge and weave through the barrage of human fire. Each fallen Quarren was quickly replaced by another, their ranks seemingly endless. Marcus found himself in the thick of the fight, his rifle blasting away at the nearest Quarren. He caught a glimpse of Ana Martinez, perched high in a ruined building, picking off enemies with deadly accuracy. David Kim was a whirlwind of destruction, his heavy weapon tearing through the Quarren lines. But for every alien they took down, more seemed to pour in from the horizon. A sudden, blinding flash of light filled Marcus's vision, followed by a searing pain in his side. He staggered, his vision swimming as he tried to stay on his feet. A Quarren soldier loomed over him, its glowing eyes filled with contempt. The alien raised its weapon, ready to deliver the killing blow. Time seemed to slow. Marcus's mind raced, flashing through memories of his family, his home, everything he was fighting for. He braced himself for the end. A sharp crack rang out, and the Quarren soldier crumpled to the ground, a smoking hole in its chest. Marcus turned to see Ana, her rifle trained on the fallen alien, her face set in fierce determination. "Not on my watch, Captain," she shouted over the din. Marcus nodded, gratitude flooding through him. He pushed himself to his feet, ignoring the pain. "Thanks, Ana. Let's show these bastards what humans are made of." The battle raged on, but it was clear the humans were losing ground. The Quarren's laughter echoed across the battlefield, a constant reminder of their perceived superiority. The humans fought with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. In the command center, General Thompson watched the unfolding carnage with a heavy heart. Her hands clenched into fists as she saw her soldiers struggling against the overwhelming odds. "We need that miracle now," she muttered, turning to her communications officer. "Get me Dr. Evelyn Park. Tell her to activate Project Cerberus immediately." Deep beneath the Earth's surface in a high-tech bunker, Dr. Evelyn Park received the order. Her fingers flew across the console as she activated the final protocols for Project Cerberus. She had spent years perfecting the enhancements, hoping they would never be needed. But now, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, it was time to unleash their secret weapon. "Project Cerberus is a go," she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Let's show these aliens what happens when they underestimate humanity." The hum of the hidden bunker's lights cast an eerie glow on the faces of the assembled generals and scientists. General Sarah Thompson, stern and composed, surveyed the room with sharp, calculating eyes. She knew the situation was dire. The Quarrens were relentless, and Earth's defenses were crumbling. "General Thompson," said Dr. Evelyn Park, stepping forward. Her lab coat fluttered as she moved, a stark contrast to the grim, militaristic atmosphere. "I have a proposal that might just save us." Thompson nodded, signaling for her to continue. "Go on, Dr. Park. We're listening." Dr. Park took a deep breath. "We've been working on enhancing the intelligence and capabilities of certain animals, specifically dogs. With advanced training and equipment, they could become our secret weapon. A murmur rippled through the room. The idea was unconventional, almost outlandish, but they were running out of options. General Thompson leaned forward. Her interest piqued. "Explain." Dr. Park nodded and began her presentation. Project Cerberus focuses on augmenting the natural abilities of dogs. We've enhanced their intelligence, strength, and agility. With advanced armor and communication devices, they can work seamlessly with human soldiers, executing complex strategies and taking down enemy targets with precision. She displayed a holographic projection of the enhanced dogs in action, showing footage of training exercises where the dogs demonstrated remarkable coordination and efficiency. The generals watched in silence, their skepticism slowly turning to intrigue. "Our primary focus has been on breeds known for their intelligence and trainability," Dr. Park continued. "German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Border Collies. These dogs have shown exceptional aptitude in our tests. They can navigate through enemy lines, disable weapons, and even carry out reconnaissance missions." General Thompson studied the footage intently. The dogs moved with a fluid grace, their actions synchronized with those of their human handlers. It was clear they were more than just animals. They were a new kind of soldier. "We've seen what the Quarrens can do," Dr. Park said, her voice resolute. "Our conventional weapons are not enough, but these dogs can give us the edge we need. They can disrupt the enemy's operations, create chaos in their ranks, and turn the tide of battle in our favor." The room fell silent as General Thompson considered the proposal. She knew it was a gamble, but one they had to take. "Deploy Project Cerberus," she ordered. "Equip the dogs and send them to the front lines. We need every advantage we can get." The decision made, preparations began immediately. Dr. Park and her team worked tirelessly, fitting the dogs with advanced armor and communication devices. The dogs, already trained and ready, seemed to sense the urgency of the situation. They stood alert, their eyes bright with intelligence and determination. Captain Marcus Reynolds, still recovering from the earlier battle, watched the preparations with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "Dogs, huh?" he muttered to Lieutenant Anna Martinez, who stood beside him. "I hope they know what they're doing." Anna smiled, her confidence unwavering. "I've seen those dogs in action, Captain. They're incredible. If anyone can turn this around, it's them." As the first contingent of enhanced dogs was loaded onto transport vehicles, Dr. Park gave a final word of encouragement to the handlers. "Trust your partners," she said. "They'll be there for you just as you'll be there for them. Together, we can win this." The handlers, a mix of seasoned soldiers and skilled trainers, nodded in agreement. They had formed strong bonds with their canine partners during training, and they were ready to put their trust in them. The journey to the front lines was tense. The rumble of the transport vehicles and the distant sounds of battle created an atmosphere of anticipation. Marcus and his team, now joined by the enhanced dogs, prepared themselves for the fight ahead. When they arrived, the sight of the battlefield was a grim reminder of the stakes. Smoke and fire filled the air, and the sounds of combat were deafening. The Quarrens were advancing relentlessly, their mocking laughter still ringing in the air. General Thompson's voice crackled over the comms. "All units, prepare to engage. Project Cerberus is now in effect. Let's show these Quarrens what humanity is made of." The enhanced dogs, guided by their handlers, sprang into action. They moved with incredible speed and precision, darting through enemy lines and disabling Quarren weapons with ease. The aliens, initially laughing at the sight of dogs on the battlefield, soon found themselves caught off guard by their efficiency and coordination. Marcus watched in awe as a German Shepherd named Max, fitted with sleek armor, took down a Quarren soldier with a well-placed strike. The dog's handler, Sergeant Claire Bennett, directed Max with calm, precise commands, their bond evident in their seamless cooperation. The Quarren's laughter turned to confusion and frustration. The dogs of Project Cerberus disrupted their formations, creating chaos and weakening their advance. The human soldiers, inspired by their new allies, fought with renewed vigor, pushing back against the alien invaders. For the first time since the invasion began, it felt like humanity had a fighting chance. The tide of battle was beginning to turn, and hope flickered in the hearts of the defenders. As the enhanced dogs continued their relentless assault, the Quarrens realized they had underestimated their human adversaries. The war was far from over, but with Project Cerberus in play, humanity had a powerful new weapon in its arsenal. The battlefield was a cacophony of chaos and destruction. The relentless advance of the Quarrens had turned the once peaceful plains into a war zone. The ground shook with the force of explosions, and the air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning metal. Human soldiers, weary but determined, held their positions, their eyes fixed on the horizon where the enemy's war machines loomed ominously. Captain Marcus Reynolds crouched behind a makeshift barricade, his rifle clutched tightly in his hands. Beside him, Lieutenant Ana Martinez surveyed the battlefield through her sniper scope, searching for targets. The tension was palpable, every soldier acutely aware that they were fighting a losing battle. Then, amidst the din of warfare, came a new sound, the deep, resonant bark of a dog. Marcus turned just in time to see the first wave of enhanced dogs charging into the fray, their sleek armor glinting in the dim light. At the forefront was Max, the German shepherd Marcus had seen in training. Max moved with a fluid grace, his powerful muscles propelling him forward with astonishing speed. Sergeant Claire Bennett, Max's handler, ran alongside him, her movements synchronized with the dogs. She issued a series of commands, each one precise and clear. "Max, flank left! Disable that turret!" Max barked in acknowledgement and veered sharply to the left. He darted through the battlefield, dodging laser fire and explosions with uncanny agility. Reaching the Quarren turret, he leapt onto it, his powerful jaws clamping down on a vital cable. Sparks flew as the turret's targeting system short-circuited, and it fell silent. Around the battlefield, other dogs of Project Cerberus were executing similar maneuvers. A Belgian Malinois named Luna was weaving through enemy lines, planting explosive charges on key Quarren equipment. A border collie named Scout was using his heightened senses to locate hidden Quarren snipers, alerting his handler to their positions. The Quarrens, initially dismissive of the dogs, quickly realized the threat they posed. Their laughter faded, replaced by shouts of alarm and frustration. The dogs' speed and coordination made them difficult targets, and their attacks were precise and devastating. "Focus fire on the canines," a Quarren commander bellowed, his voice tinged with panic. But it was too late. The dogs had already sown chaos in the enemy ranks. The Quarren's formations broke apart as they scrambled to respond to the unexpected threat. Human soldiers seized the opportunity, pressing their advantage and pushing the Quarrens back. Marcus felt a surge of hope. "Keep pushing! Don't give them any room to regroup!" he shouted to his team. Ana Martinez, from her sniper perch, picked off Quarren soldiers with deadly precision, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos below. "I've got your back, Captain. Let's show these aliens what we're made of." Sergeant Bennett and Max continued their relentless assault. Together, they disabled several more enemy turrets and cleared a path for the human advance. Max's agility and strength were awe-inspiring, and it was clear that the bond between him and Bennett was unbreakable. As the battle raged on, the Quarren's initial confidence turned to desperation. Their advanced technology and superior numbers were no match for the sheer determination and ingenuity of the human dog teams. The enhanced dogs of Project Cerberus had turned the tide of the battle. In the command center, General Thompson watched the live feed with a mixture of pride and relief. "It's working," she said, her voice filled with a rare note of hope. "We're turning them back." Dr. Evelyn Park, standing beside her, nodded. "The dogs are performing even better than expected. This could be the breakthrough we needed." On the battlefield, Marcus and his team pushed forward, driving the Quarrens into a full retreat. The enhanced dogs led the charge, their ferocity and intelligence striking fear into the hearts of the alien invaders. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the battlefield, the human forces finally gained the upper hand. The Quarrens, their ranks decimated and their morale shattered, began to withdraw. The human soldiers cheered, their voices ringing out in a triumphant chorus. Marcus knelt beside Max, patting the dog's head. "Good job, boy. You were amazing out there." Max barked happily, his tail wagging furiously. Sergeant Bennett smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "We couldn't have done it without him, without all of them." The battle was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had struck a significant blow against the Quarrens. The enhanced dogs of Project Cerberus had proven their worth, and their success had given humanity a glimmer of hope in a dark time. As the soldiers began to regroup and tend to the wounded, Marcus looked out over the battlefield, determination etched into his features. "This isn't the end," he said quietly, "but it's a start. We've shown them that we won't go down without a fight." The battlefield, once a scene of impending doom, now bore the marks of humanity's fierce resistance and newfound hope. The retreating Quarrens left behind a trail of wreckage, their once mighty war machines now smoking husks scattered across the landscape. The human soldiers, though exhausted, stood tall, their morale bolstered by the unexpected success. Captain Marcus Reynolds stood at the front lines, his gaze sweeping over the battlefield. The air was filled with the sounds of celebration and the cries of victory. The enhanced dogs, wagging their tails and receiving affectionate pats from the soldiers, were the heroes of the hour. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Ana Martinez, approaching with a broad smile. "We did it. We actually pushed them back." Marcus nodded, a rare smile breaking across his usually stern face. "Thanks to our new friends," he replied, glancing down at Max, who was by his side, ever vigilant. "But this is just the beginning. We need to capitalize on this momentum." Sergeant Claire Bennett approached, her uniform smudged with dirt and grime, but her eyes shining with triumph. "Max was incredible, Captain. All the dogs were. They performed beyond our expectations." Marcus looked at Max, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We've got a powerful new weapon," he said, "and we're going to need every advantage we can get." As the humans regrouped, General Sarah Thompson's voice crackled over the comms. "Attention all units. Excellent work today. Begin preparations for the next phase. We're taking the fight to the Quarrens." The news was met with cheers. The victory had given the soldiers a much-needed boost, and the prospect of going on the offensive filled them with determination. Marcus and his team began to organize their forces, coordinating with other units and integrating the enhanced dogs into their strategies. In the command center, General Thompson and Dr. Evelyn Park watched the feeds from the battlefield. The sight of the Quarrens retreating and the human soldiers celebrating brought a sense of relief and cautious optimism. "We've bought ourselves some time," General Thompson said, her voice measured, "but we need to act quickly. The Quarrens will regroup and return, stronger than before." Dr. Park nodded. "Agreed. We'll continue to refine the enhancements and ensure the dogs are ready for whatever comes next. This is just the beginning." Back on the front lines, Marcus and his team were already planning their next move. The human forces, now bolstered by the success of Project Cerberus, were preparing for a counteroffensive. The goal was clear: take the fight to the Quarren strongholds and disrupt their operations. "All right, team," Marcus said, addressing his soldiers and the handlers. "We've shown the Quarrens what we're capable of. Now we're going to hit them where it hurts. We'll be launching a series of coordinated strikes on their supply lines and command centers. The dogs will play a crucial role in these operations." The handlers nodded, their faces set in grim determination. They had seen firsthand the power of their canine partners, and they were ready to put them to the test again. The enhanced dogs, sensing the anticipation and urgency in the air, stood ready, their eyes gleaming with intelligence and loyalty. As night fell, the human forces moved out. The enhanced dogs led the way, their keen senses and agility allowing them to scout ahead and identify enemy positions. The Quarrens, unprepared for the renewed assault, found themselves on the defensive. Infiltration teams, accompanied by their canine partners, slipped behind enemy lines, sabotaging key installations and gathering vital intelligence. The Quarrens' once impenetrable defenses began to crumble under the relentless pressure. The dogs' ability to move silently and strike swiftly made them invaluable assets in the covert operations. Captain Reynolds and Max found themselves deep within a Quarren supply depot. The facility was heavily guarded, but the human dog team moved with precision. Max's heightened senses alerted them to patrols and security measures, allowing Marcus and his team to navigate the complex without detection. "Max, find the central control room," Marcus whispered. and the German Shepherd darted ahead, his nose leading the way. Within minutes, they reached the control room. Marcus and his team quickly overpowered the guards, and with Max's help, they disabled the security systems and planted charges throughout the facility. As they made their escape, the charges detonated, sending a massive explosion ripping through the depot. The Quarren forces scrambled, their supply lines in disarray. Similar operations were carried out across multiple Quarren installations, each one a crippling blow to their war effort. The tide of battle had turned. The Quarrens, once confident in their superiority, now faced a formidable and unpredictable enemy. The humans, driven by their determination and bolstered by the enhanced dogs of Project Cerberus, were taking the fight to their invaders. General Thompson's strategy was paying off. The Quarrens were being forced into a defensive posture, their resources stretched thin. The human forces, invigorated by their successes, continued to press their advantage, launching strike after strike against the alien invaders. As dawn broke over the war-torn landscape, the human soldiers stood victorious over another key Quarren position. Marcus looked out over the battlefield, Max by his side. "We've got them on the run," he said, his voice filled with determination. "And we're not stopping until we've driven them off our planet for good." The enhanced dogs, now heroes in their own right, had proven their worth. The bond between humans and their canine partners had turned the tide of war, giving humanity a fighting chance against the seemingly invincible Quarrens. But the war was far from over. The Quarrens would regroup and strike back with all their might. The human forces, however, were ready. With the dogs of Project Cerberus leading the charge, they would fight for every inch of their planet, determined to protect their home and their future. The Quarren Command Center was a hive of frantic activity. Officers barked orders, screens flickered with chaotic data streams, and the air was thick with tension. The Quarrens had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. Their once unassailable positions were crumbling under the relentless pressure of the human counteroffensive. In the heart of the command center, the Quarren Supreme Commander Xanthil pored over a holographic map of the battlefield. His elongated fingers danced across the controls, trying to make sense of the rapidly deteriorating situation. The human dog teams had wreaked havoc on their supply lines and key installations, and his forces were struggling to mount an effective defense. "How is this possible?" Xanthil growled, his voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. "These humans were supposed to be easy prey." An officer, his face etched with worry, approached and saluted. "Supreme Commander, our intelligence underestimated the humans' resilience and adaptability. Their use of enhanced animals has given them a strategic advantage we did not anticipate." Xanthil's eyes narrowed, his frustration palpable. "We need to regroup and reassess our strategy. Order a full retreat. We will fall back to our stronghold and fortify our defenses. Prepare for a counterattack." The order was relayed, and the Quarren forces began their retreat. The once confident invaders were now in disarray, their morale shattered by the ferocity of the human resistance. The humans, emboldened by their success, pressed their advantage, harrying the retreating Quarrens at every turn. On the battlefield, Captain Marcus Reynolds and his team watched as the Quarrens fell back. The sight of the alien invaders in full retreat was a morale booster for the human soldiers. They had gone from a desperate defensive stand to an aggressive pursuit, and the change was exhilarating. "Keep the pressure on them," Marcus shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. "Don't give them a chance to regroup." The enhanced dogs of Project Cerberus were at the forefront of the pursuit. Max, the German Shepherd, led the charge, his keen senses and unyielding determination driving him forward. Beside him, Sergeant Claire Bennett directed their efforts with precise commands. "Max, cut off their escape route," Bennett ordered, and the dog surged ahead, using his agility to navigate the treacherous terrain. The Quarrens, caught off guard by the relentless pursuit, struggled to maintain their retreat. Human soldiers, supported by their canine partners, harried them at every turn. The battlefield was a chaotic scene of explosions and laser fire, but the humans were gaining the upper hand. As the Quarrens retreated, they abandoned valuable equipment and supplies, leaving them for the human forces to seize. The tide of the war had shifted dramatically, and the humans were making the most of their newfound advantage. In the command center, General Sarah Thompson watched the live feeds with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. The retreating Quarrens were a victory, but she knew the war was far from over. "Good work, everyone," she said, her voice steady. "But we can't afford to get complacent. The Quarrens will regroup and strike back with everything they have. We need to be ready." Dr. Evelyn Park nodded in agreement. "Project Cerberus has proven its worth, but we need to continue refining our strategies and enhancing our capabilities. The Quarrens won't make the same mistake twice." As the human forces secured their newly gained territory, Marcus and his team took a moment to catch their breath. The battle had been fierce, and they had pushed their limits, but the sight of the retreating Quarrens filled them with hope. "Looks like we gave them something to think about," Lieutenant Ana Martinez said, her sniper rifle slung over her shoulder. "But the general's right. This isn't over." Marcus nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "We're in this for the long haul, but with these dogs by our side, we've got a fighting chance." The human forces regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the war. The success of the enhanced dogs had given them a strategic advantage, but they knew the Quarrens would not give up easily. The war was far from over, and the real test was yet to come. In the days that followed, the human forces consolidated their gains and fortified their positions. The dogs of Project Cerberus continued to prove their worth, their intelligence and agility making them invaluable assets on the battlefield. As the humans prepared for the inevitable counterattack, a sense of determination and unity pervaded their ranks. They had faced the might of the Quarren Empire and emerged victorious, and they were ready to do it again. The Quarrens, meanwhile, licked their wounds and prepared for their next move. Their confidence shaken but not broken, they plotted their revenge. The war for Earth was far from over, and the next battle would be even more fierce and brutal. Captain Marcus Reynolds, Max by his side, stood ready. The bond between man and dog had turned the tide of battle once, and he knew it would do so again. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. As long as they fought together, they had a chance. As night fell over the war-torn landscape, the human forces steeled themselves for the battles to come. The war was far from over, but with the dogs of Project Cerberus leading the charge, they were ready to face whatever the Quarrens threw at them. The human fleet, now buoyed by their recent victories and the strategic advantage provided by the enhanced dogs, prepared for a daring counterattack. The plan was ambitious, to strike directly at the heart of the Quarren Empire and disrupt their command structure. It was a bold move, but one that could potentially turn the tide of the war for good. Captain Marcus Reynolds stood aboard the flagship, the UEDF Resolute, alongside his trusted companions, Lieutenant Ana Martinez and Sergeant Claire Bennett. Max, the German shepherd who had become a symbol of hope and resilience, sat at Marcus's feet, alert and ready. General Sarah Thompson addressed the assembled troops via a holographic display. Her voice was steady, filled with the confidence that had come from their recent successes. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we take the fight to the Quarrens. We've proven that we can stand against them, and now it's time to show them that we can defeat them. Our target is their central command on their homeworld. This will be a decisive blow. Stick to your training, trust your partners, and remember what we're fighting for. Good luck, and may we bring victory for Earth." The fleet, a collection of human warships and support vessels, jumped to warp speed, their destination, the Quarren homeworld. The journey was tense, filled with a mixture of anticipation and determination. Every soldier aboard knew the stakes. They were striking at the very heart of their enemy. As they neared the Quarren homeworld, the UEDF Resolute dropped out of warp, and the fleet emerged into a system teeming with enemy ships. The Quarrens had fortified their homeworld, and it was clear they were expecting a confrontation. "All hands, battle stations," Marcus shouted, gripping the railings of the command deck. The human ships formed up, preparing for the inevitable clash. The Quarren fleet, larger and more intimidating than anything the humans had faced before, began to move into attack formation. The first volleys of laser fire lit up the void of space, and the battle was on. The UEDF Resolute shook as it exchanged fire with a Koran warship, its shields flaring under the impact. The human fleet moved with coordinated precision, their tactics honed by months of hard-fought battles. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus and his team prepared for their part of the mission. Their objective was to infiltrate the Quarren command center on the planet's surface and disable their communication network, crippling their ability to coordinate their forces. "Max, stay close," Marcus said, giving the German shepherd a reassuring pat. The dog barked in acknowledgement, his eyes focused and alert. The infiltration team, consisting of Marcus, Anna, Claire, and their canine partners, boarded a stealth shuttle and descended toward the planet's surface. The shuttle weaved through the intense anti-aircraft fire, its cloaking device working overtime to keep them hidden. As they neared the surface, the team could see the sprawling Quarren capital, a city of towering spires and advanced technology. The shuttle touched down in a secluded area and the team disembarked, their weapons ready. "Remember the plan," Marcus said, his voice low. "We move fast, hit our targets and get out. Max, you're with me. Anna, Claire, cover our flanks." The team moved through the shadows, their movements silent and precise. Max led the way, his enhanced senses detecting any potential threats long before they could become a danger. They reached the entrance to the command center, a heavily guarded facility bristling with security measures. "Max, find a way in," Marcus whispered. The dog sniffed the air, then led them to a ventilation shaft, hidden behind a cluster of machinery. It was a tight fit, but the team managed to squeeze through, their hearts pounding as they navigated the narrow passageways. Inside the command center, the tension was palpable. Quarren officers barked orders, their focus on the battle raging in space. The humans moved with practiced stealth, avoiding detection as they made their way to the central control room. "Almost there," Anna whispered, her eyes scanning the corridors for any sign of trouble. They reached the control room door and Claire quickly hacked the access panel. The door slid open and the team rushed in, weapons raised. The Quarren operators inside were caught off guard, their hands flying up in surrender. "Secure the room," Marcus ordered. The team moved swiftly, subduing the Quarren operators and taking control of the consoles. Max sniffed around the room, then barked to signal he had found something. Marcus followed, finding a concealed compartment containing the main communication hub. "Good work, Max," Marcus said, setting charges on the hub. "This will cripple their ability to coordinate their fleet." As the charges were set, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Quarrens had realized they were under attack. "We've got company," Claire warned, her eyes on the security feed. "We need to move, now," Marcus ordered. The team retraced their steps, moving quickly through the facility as Quarren soldiers began to swarm the area. The charges detonated, sending a shockwave through the command center and plunging the Quarren communications into chaos. The human fleet above took advantage of the disruption, pressing their attack and gaining the upper hand. The team reached the shuttle, but Quarren soldiers were closing in. "Anna, cover us!" Marcus shouted. Anna took up a defensive position, her sniper rifle picking off advancing Quarrens with deadly precision. "Get in!" Claire shouted, and the team piled into the shuttle. The engines roared to life and they lifted off, weaving through enemy fire as they ascended back into space. On the command deck of the UEDF Resolute, General Thompson watched as the Quarren fleet began to falter. The destruction of their communication hub had thrown them into disarray, and the human forces were pressing their advantage. "Captain Reynolds, mission accomplished," Marcus reported over the comms, his voice filled with relief. "Well done, Captain," General Thompson replied. "Prepare for extraction. We're bringing everyone home." The human fleet, now with a clear advantage, continued their assault. The Quarrens, unable to coordinate their defenses, were forced into a full retreat. The human forces had struck a decisive blow, and the tide of the war had shifted in their favor. As the UEDF Resolute and the rest of the fleet regrouped, Marcus and his team were welcomed back as heroes. The mission had been a success, and the morale of the human forces was at an all-time high. In the aftermath of the battle, General Thompson addressed the fleet. "Today we have shown the Quarrens that humanity will not be conquered. We have struck at the heart of their empire and sent them running. This war is far from over, but we have proven that we can and will win. Together, with our enhanced allies, we will fight for our home, our freedom, and our future." The soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted by the victory. Marcus looked at Max, the dog that had become a symbol of hope and resilience. "We did it, buddy," he said, kneeling to ruffle Max's fur. "But there's still work to be done." Max barked, his eyes bright with determination. The war was far from over, but with the bond between humans and their canine partners stronger than ever, they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The victory over the Quarren Command Center had given humanity a much-needed morale boost, but the war was far from over. The Quarrens, though shaken, were regrouping for a final, desperate assault. Their pride and rage fueled their preparations, and intelligence reports indicated they were amassing a massive fleet for an all-out attack on Earth. General Sarah Thompson stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays and strategists. "We have one shot at this," she said, her voice resolute. "If we can destroy their flagship and eliminate Supreme Commander Xanthal, we can break their will to fight and force a retreat." Captain Marcus Reynolds and his team were among those assembled. Max, the German shepherd who had become a symbol of hope, sat by Marcus's side, ever vigilant. The room was filled with a tense anticipation. Everyone knew the stakes. "We'll need to deploy every resource we have," Lieutenant Ana Martinez said, her sniper rifle slung over her shoulder. "Our fleet, our soldiers, and of course, our dogs." Dr. Evelyn Park, standing beside General Thompson, nodded. "Project Cerberus has proven its worth. The dogs will play a crucial role in this final assault. Their intelligence, agility, and loyalty give us a unique edge." The plan was laid out in meticulous detail. The human fleet would engage the Quarren forces in space, drawing them into a pitched battle. Meanwhile, a strike team, led by Marcus and including the enhanced dogs, would infiltrate the Quarren flagship and take out Supreme Commander Xanthal. As the fleet prepared for departure, Marcus took a moment to kneel beside Max. "This is it, buddy. The final push. Are you ready?" Max barked in response, his eyes gleaming with determination. Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. With Max by his side, he felt they could accomplish anything. The human fleet, a formidable armada of warships, fighters, and support vessels, jumped to warp speed, heading toward the Quarren assembly point. As they emerged from warp, the scale of the Quarren fleet became clear. It was the largest armada humanity had ever faced, and it bristled with advanced weaponry. "All units prepare for engagement," General Thompson's voice rang out over the comms. The human fleet moved into attack formation, ready to face the onslaught. The space battle that erupted was unlike any before. Laser fire and explosions filled the void, ships maneuvering in a deadly dance. The UEDF Resolute led the charge, its cannons blazing as it engaged multiple Quarren warships. Marcus and his team, aboard a stealth shuttle, approached the Quarren flagship under cover of the chaos. The shuttle slipped through the defensive perimeter, its cloaking device masking its presence. Inside the shuttle, the team readied their weapons and prepared for the assault. "Remember the plan," Marcus said, his voice steady. "We get in, take out Xanthal, and get out. Stick together and trust your partners." The shuttle docked with the Quarren flagship, and the team disembarked, moving quickly through the corridors. Max led the way, his senses alert for any sign of danger. The Quarren ship was a labyrinth of sleek, alien architecture, but the team navigated it with precision. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Quarren soldiers, alerted to the breach, engaged them in fierce firefights. The enhanced dogs proved their worth once again, darting through enemy lines, disabling weapons, and taking down soldiers with lethal efficiency. "Keep moving," Marcus shouted, firing at a group of advancing Quarrens. "We need to reach the command center." The team pushed forward, their determination unwavering. Max and the other dogs led the charge, their actions coordinated and precise. They reached the entrance to the command center, a heavily fortified door guarded by elite Quarren soldiers. "Max, take point," Marcus ordered. The German shepherd lunged forward, his powerful jaws clamping down on a guard's weapon. The team followed, engaging the remaining guards in a brutal close-quarters battle. With the guards neutralized, Claire hacked the door's access panel. The door slid open, revealing the expansive command center. At its center stood Supreme Commander Xanthal, his imposing figure framed by the holographic displays of the battlefield. So the humans have come to die? Xanthal sneered, his eyes glowing with malice. You will find I am not so easily defeated. Marcus stepped forward, his weapon trained on Xanthal. We're not here to die. We're here to end this war. The battle in the command center was intense. Xanthal fought with a ferocity and skill that matched his reputation, but the human team, supported by their enhanced dogs, fought with equal determination. Max was a blur of motion, his attacks precise and devastating. Xanthal's defenses crumbled under the relentless assault. The team coordinated their efforts, exploiting every weakness. Finally, with a roar of defiance, Xanthal fell, his command console sparking and failing. Marcus stood over the fallen commander, breathing heavily. It's over, he said, his voice tinged with both relief and exhaustion. We've done it. As the news of Xanthal's defeat spread through the Quarren fleet, their cohesion faltered. The human forces, sensing victory, pressed their advantage. The Quarrens, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. In the aftermath, the human fleet regrouped, the remnants of the Quarren armada fleeing into the depths of space. General Thompson's voice carried through the comms, filled with pride and hope. Today we have achieved what seemed impossible. We have defeated the Quarrens and secured our future. The bravery and resilience of our soldiers and their canine partners have brought us this victory. Earth is safe. Celebrations erupted throughout the fleet. Soldiers cheered, embracing each other and their canine companions. Marcus knelt beside Max, his hand resting on the dog's head. We did it, boy. We really did it. Max barked, his tail wagging furiously. The bond between man and dog had turned the tide of war, and together they had secured a future for humanity. The journey home was filled with a sense of triumph and relief. Earth had been saved, and the threat of the Quarren invasion was over. The humans and their enhanced dogs had proven that they could stand against even the most formidable of foes. As the fleet returned to Earth, the celebrations continued. The streets were filled with joyous crowds, welcoming their heroes home. The dogs of Project Cerberus were hailed as saviors, their contributions recognized and celebrated. General Thompson addressed the world, her voice filled with pride and gratitude. Today we celebrate not just a victory, but the strength and resilience of humanity. We have faced an enemy who sought to conquer us, and we have shown them that we will not be defeated. Our bond with our canine companions has proven to be our greatest strength. Together, we have secured our future. Captain Marcus Reynolds, Max by his side, looked out at the cheering crowds. We did it, he said quietly, a smile on his face. We fought for our home, our freedom, and our future. Max barked in agreement, his eyes shining with loyalty and pride. The war was over, but the bond between humans and their enhanced dogs would endure, a testament to their shared courage and determination. The once war-torn Earth began its healing process. Cities and towns, previously scarred by the brutal invasion, now buzzed with reconstruction efforts. Humanity, resilient and determined, rose from the ashes, driven by the same spirit that had seen them through countless hardships. In the heart of the capital city, a grand ceremony was being held to honor the heroes of the war. Banners fluttered in the breeze, and the air was filled with the sounds of celebration. General Sarah Thompson stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled crowd, which included soldiers, civilians, and the beloved dogs of Project Cerberus. Today, we honor the bravery and sacrifice of those who stood against the Quarren invasion, General Thompson began, her voice carrying over the crowd. We celebrate not only our victory, but the spirit of unity and resilience that defines humanity. Our victory was not just won with advanced technology or military strategy, but with the unbreakable bond between humans and their loyal canine companions. The crowd erupted in applause, and the dogs barked in joyous response. Captain Marcus Reynolds stood in the front row, Max sitting proudly by his side. Marcus couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as he looked at Max, the dog who had become not just a partner in battle, but a symbol of hope and courage. General Thompson continued, The dogs of Project Cerberus have shown us the true meaning of loyalty and bravery. They fought by our side, saved countless lives, and turned the tide of the war. They are heroes, just as much as any human soldier. Dr. Evelyn Park stepped forward. receiving a special commendation for her work on Project Cerberus. She accepted the medal with humility, her eyes reflecting the immense pride she felt for her team and the dogs they had worked so hard to train. As the ceremony continued, Marcus found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. He remembered the fear and uncertainty of the early days of the invasion, the desperate battles, and the moments of doubt. But he also remembered the moments of triumph, the unbreakable bonds formed in the heat of battle, and the unwavering determination that had seen them through. After the ceremony, Marcus and Max took a walk through the rebuilt city. The streets were filled with life and laughter, a stark contrast to the dark days of the invasion. Everywhere they went, people greeted them with smiles and gratitude. Children ran up to pet Max, and families expressed their thanks. "You're quite the hero, Max," Marcus said, ruffling the dog's fur. "But I think you already knew that." Max barked happily, his tail wagging furiously. Marcus smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. The war had taken a toll, but it had also brought out the best in humanity. It had shown them that even in the darkest times there was hope, and that together they could overcome any challenge. Back at the military base, General Thompson and Dr. Park were deep in discussion. "The success of Project Cerberus has opened up new possibilities," Dr. Park said. "We can continue to enhance our capabilities, not just for military purposes, but for search and rescue, disaster response, and more." General Thompson nodded. "The bond between humans and dogs has always been special. Now, we've seen just how powerful it can be. We'll continue to build on this to ensure that we are ready for whatever the future holds." As evening fell, Marcus and Max returned to their quarters. The day's events had left him feeling hopeful and optimistic about the future. He looked at Max, who had curled up on his bed, already half asleep. "Rest up, buddy," Marcus said softly. "We've earned it." Max opened one eye, gave a contented sigh, and drifted off to sleep. Marcus sat down, reflecting on the journey ahead. The war might be over, but the work of rebuilding and preparing for the future had just begun. In the days and weeks that followed, humanity continued to rebuild and recover. The dogs of Project Cerberus were integrated into various aspects of society, their abilities used for everything from disaster response to therapy for those traumatized by the war. The bond between humans and dogs had become a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder of what they had achieved together. Statues were erected in honor of the canine heroes, and their stories were told and retold, inspiring future generations. Captain Marcus Reynolds continued to serve, using his experience and leadership to help guide the rebuilding efforts. Max remained by his side, a constant and loyal companion. One day as they were walking through a park, Marcus noticed a group of children playing with a young German shepherd. The sight brought a smile to his face. It was a reminder that life goes on, that even after the darkest times there is light and joy to be found.